Good morning, gardeners, and welcome to Wednesday, June 21st. My name is Catherine, and I created a show called Good Morning Gardeners, even though I can't grow green things because I am referring to gardening metaphorically. We're planting the seeds for a better day. We are starting our morning by getting in the right mindset to cultivate a better life for ourselves, better communities, and a better world. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you'd like to add Good Morning Gardeners to your morning routine. I do my best to wake you up with positive and mentally stimulating ideas, but sometimes I miss things. If you have something to add to the ideas I discussed today, please chime in the comments section below. Today is the International Day of Yoga. This observance aims to raise awareness worldwide of the many benefits of practicing yoga. Yoga is an ancient metaphysical, mental, and spiritual practice that originated in India. The word yoga derives from Sanskrit and means to join or to unite, symbolizing the union of body and consciousness. Today, yoga is practiced in various forms around the world and continues to grow in popularity. It is important to stay active, but yoga is more than a physical activity. In the words of one of its most famous practitioners, yoga cultivates the ways of maintaining a balanced attitude in day-to-day life and endows skill in the performance of one's actions. Today is also the International Day of the celebration of the solstice. The solstices, together with the equinoxes, are connected with seasons, harvests, and livelihood. Therefore, many cultures celebrate various combinations of the solstices, the equinoxes, and the midpoints between them, leading to various holidays arising around these events. The solstice as the embodiment of the unity of cultural heritage. The solstice is the embodiment of the unity of cultural heritage and centuries-long traditions. So today, this morning, what I have been thinking about is the importance of morning routine and ritual. Obviously I started this show as a way to help you guys solidify your morning routine. But basically, this morning I was thinking about possibly delving into exactly why having a morning routine is valuable and what the relationship between routine and ritual is. Because I think that these two words are very closely linked. They're often used interchangeably, but I don't, obviously I'm sure that you can agree that they are different words with different definitions. So I want to discuss that a little bit today. And all of this is kind of in the context, or at least this is how I think of it, as kind of like hacking our brains. Because, our brains, being a human is a weird experience because you are possibly your brain, but you are aware of your brain. And the brain, if you think about it, is really less like a well-designed machine and more like an old house that has been built onto many, many times over, millennia. And so this is why, as humans, we are able to talk about the prefrontal cortex, where we do our logical thinking, the amygdala, where our emotions lie, and things like that. And the more aware you are of your own brain and its mechanisms and the way that it works, the better able you are to hack its functioning. One of the biggest breakthroughs for me, as an adult, was just realizing how little or what I perceive of as myself, how little that entity controls everything in me. I know this is a weird conversation, and maybe it is a little bit too early for this, but I just wanted to give you some context that this is kind of the realm in which I think of these things, just to give you some framing for the conversation today. But obviously everybody is unique, and it is possible that some people would not benefit from a morning routine, but I believe that the vast majority of people would benefit from a morning routine. And that is because I have always identified as a night owl. And yet I still find incredible value from waking up early and implementing a morning routine. I'm actually convinced that my status as a night owl is hard-coded into my DNA. But even though I identify very strongly as a night owl, even though many of my creative ideas and epiphanies have come at night, and even though I've always gotten a second wind around 10 p.m., it has been a goal of mine for years now to develop the habit of going to bed early and waking up early. Why don't I just succumb to my biology and do creative work at night? Well, for multiple reasons. First, I happen to live with two people whose schedules are determined by external forces which compel them to wake up early. Second, even though I have received epiphanies at night, I have also received epiphanies in the morning. And in my experience, the creative ideas I get in the morning are generally higher quality than the ones that I get at night. In the past, when I received an epiphany, like a gift from the universe late at night, I would get this surge of energy along with a compulsion to get started on the project right that very minute. This tendency cost me many sleepless nights, but none of those late night projects are still in the works today. Now, this could be due to a multitude of reasons. Maybe I just struggle to keep up with my projects. Maybe my brain just doesn't tend to generate high-quality ideas. And these things might be a factor. I can't prove otherwise. But I can tell you that I got the idea to start Good Morning Gardeners in the morning, and I have been doing this for nearly 2 months now. I know 2 months isn't long, but another factor at play here is that I am much more methodical about how I select and work on my projects now. If I were to immediately drop everything and work on every random idea I got, I'd never get anywhere with any projects because new projects would continually replace the older ones. So now when I get a late night creative idea, I resolve to sleep on it. And I believe this practice, because sleep literally cleanses my brain, filters out the ideas that seem good in the moment but weren't actually all that great. I also tend to receive many more creative ideas in the morning than I do at night. So we're talking quality and quantity here. This phenomenon of receiving many ideas in the morning is one of the reasons that I started Good Morning Gardeners. I'd finally established a good habit of waking up early every morning and reading, and I was getting inundated with so many ideas that I didn't know what to do with them. Another reason I like waking up early is because it's quiet in the morning, which gives me time to think and meditate and get my mindset right. Of course, getting our mindsets right is what this show is all about, so if you're watching this, I'm assuming you already prioritize mindset. Personally, I've come to believe that having the right mindset is a prerequisite for successfully accomplishing anything of value in this life. If I'm right about this, it's impossible to overestimate the importance of getting in the right mindset every single morning. For our learning moment today, I am going to share with you an article by James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits. This article is titled, "You Get 25,000 Mornings as an Adult. Here are 8 ways not to waste them." However, I will actually only be sharing 7 of these tips with you because I don't agree with one of them, because it involves using food as a reward. I love James Clear, but I hate that he's advocating this practice because it can be triggering or even dangerous for people who struggle with disordered eating, and there are a lot of us out there. Even if your eating habits have always been healthy, I don't recommend tampering with this dark magic because it is just never worth getting trapped in a pattern of disordered eating. Okay, James writes, "You'll wake up for about 25,000 mornings in your adult life, give or take a few. According to a report from the World Health Organization, the average life expectancy in the United States is 79 years old. Most people in wealthy nations are hovering around the 80-year mark. Women in Japan are the highest with an average life expectancy of 86 years. If we use these average life expectancy numbers and assume that your adult life starts at 18 years old, then you've got about 68 years as an adult. 86 minus 18 equals 68. So 68 times 365 days a year, it equals 24,820 days, and James clear rounds up, so he's calling it 25,000 adult mornings. He says that's what you get in your adult life. 25,000 times you get to open your eyes, face the day, and decide what to do next. I don't know about you, but I've let a lot of those mornings slip by. Once I realized this, I started thinking about how I could develop a better morning routine. I still have a lot to learn, but here are some strategies that you can use to get the most out of your 25,000 mornings. First, manage your energy, not your time. If you take a moment to think about it, you'll probably realize that you are better at doing certain tasks at certain times. For example, my creative energy is highest in the morning, so that's when I do my writing each day. By comparison, I block out my afternoons for interviews, phone calls, and emails. I don't need my creative energy to be high for those tasks, so that's the best time for me to get them done. And I tend to have my best workouts in the late afternoon or early evening, so that's when I head to the gym. What type of energy do you have in the morning? What task is that energy best suited for? Number 2, prepare the night before. I don't do this nearly as often as I should, but if you only do one thing each day, then spend a few minutes each night organizing your to-do list for tomorrow. When I do it right, I'll outline the article I'm going to write the next day and develop a short list of the most important items for me to accomplish. It takes 10 minutes that night and saves 3 hours the next day. Number 3, don't open email until noon. Sounds simple. Nobody does it. It took me a while to get over the urge to open my inbox, but eventually I realized that everything can wait a few hours. Nobody is going to email you about a true emergency, like a death in the family, so leave your email alone for the first few hours of each day. Use the morning to do what's important rather than responding to what is urgent. Number 4, turn your phone off and leave it in another room, or on your colleague's desk. Or, at the very least, put it somewhere that is out of sight. This eliminates the urge to check text messages, Facebook, Twitter, and so on. This simple strategy eliminates the likelihood of slipping into half work where you waste time dividing your attention among meaningless tasks. Number 5, work in a cool place. Have you ever noticed how you feel groggy and sluggish in a hot room? Turning the temperature down or moving to a cooler place is an easier way to focus your mind and body. Number 6, sit or stand up. Your mind needs oxygen to work properly. Your lungs need to be able to expand and contract to fill your body with oxygen. That sounds simple enough, but here's the problem. Most people sit hunched over while staring at a screen and typing. When you sit hunched over, your chest is in a collapsed position and your diaphragm is resting against the bottom of your lungs, which hinders your ability to breathe easily and deeply. Sit up straight or stand up, and you'll find that you can breathe easier and more fully. As a result, your brain will get more oxygen and you'll be able to concentrate better. Skipping number 7 and going straight to number 8. Develop a pre-game routine to start your day. My morning routine starts by pouring a cold glass of water. Some people kick off their day with 10 minutes of meditation. Similarly, you should have a sequence that starts your morning ritual. This tiny routine signals to your brain that it's time to get into work mode or exercise mode or whatever mode you need to be in to accomplish your task. Additionally, a pre-game routine helps you overcome a lack of motivation and get things done even when you don't feel like it. Just as it's rare for anyone to experience overnight success, it's also rare for our lives to crumble to pieces in an instant. Most unproductive or unhealthy behaviors are the result of slow, gradual choices that add up to bad habits. A wasted morning here, an unproductive morning there. The good news is that exceptional results are the result of consistent daily choices. Nowhere is this more true than with your morning routine. The way you start your day is often the way you finish it. Take, for example, Jack LaLanne. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. It could be Jack LaLanne. Anyway, he woke up each day at 4 a.m. and spent the first 90 minutes lifting weights. Then he went for a swim or run for the next 30 minutes. For more than 60 years, he spent each morning doing this routine. In addition to being one of the most influential people in fitness in the last 100 years, LaLanne had also lived to the ripe old age of 96. This is no coincidence. What you do each morning is an indicator of how you approach your entire day. It's the choices that we repeatedly make that determine the life we live, the health we enjoy, and the work we create. You've got 25,000 mornings. What will you do with each one? So now that I have given you a practical argument for waking up early and implementing a morning routine, I want to invite you to infuse some ritual into your mornings. Now, from the outside, ritual and routine look like the same thing. But whereas routine is just something you do repeatedly at certain times, ritual is infused with emotion. You may not feel like your morning routine has any special significance, but if you infuse that morning routine with ritual, it is likely to feel very special to you. So for our feel-good moment today, I am going to share with you yet another of one of my most favorite books that I own and I think is just beautiful. This is the Book of Symbols by Taschen. It's filled with words that have archetypal significance to humanity. Each word is accompanied by a brief description, some historical context, and some imagery. This morning, I am going to share with you two brief passages, one from the archetypal symbol of dawn, and the other from the archetypal symbol of sunrise. So, starting with dawn. Though first appearing as the merest attenuation of darkness, dawn, the beginning of daybreak, nevertheless signals an inevitable resurgence of light. Whether alluding to the incipient universe or to the momentary flicker of an idea or feeling in its earliest apprehension, whether naming the interlude of communion engendered by the pristine clarity and shared focus of the whole of creation poised at the brink of sunrise, dawn evokes annunciation, beginning, approach, coming into being. Weaving variegated semblances of light into the fabric of the universe, dawn may, on the one hand, restore the form and texture of an ordered world. For some, every dawn is a new creation, crafted by the deity from the transformed chaos of night. As Walt Whitman observes, we found our own "O my soul" in the calm and cool of the daybreak. All right, and sunrise. Anyone who has waited in anticipatory silence for the sun to glide like a molten hallelujah out of the sea, or ventured forth as the vast engine of the city comes alive in the morning, sunlight reflecting off river and skyscraper. Anyone whose creative thought or intuition crosses the threshold from inception to epiphany resonates with the ages-old veneration of the daily or seasonal rising of Earth's own life-sustaining star. Decisively marking the division of time between night and the day it brings into being, sunrise is symbolic not only of creation of the world, but of the birth of consciousness, the day of psychic life, and the ego that is its presiding and orienting luminary. And just as the sunrise is emblematic of the Savior God who sinks into the land of the dead only to ascend again, so the daily resurgence of consciousness from the little death of sleep and dream is a rehearsal of resurrection. So, too, the hero who successfully negotiates the nighttime perils of the soul will reappear at sunrise, refulgent with the flame of newly won knowledge. Alchemy, as well as numerous myths, distinguishes sunrise from dawn. As daybreak, the latter is suggestive of the first light of spiritual, symbolic, or psychic illumination, while sunrise evokes its infusion with the fire, blood, and energetic heat of lived experience. So I think that the language in that book is so flowery and poetic that, I hope that can help you gain a certain sort of emotional significance about the morning, whether you're waking up as early as dawn or sunrise, or just whatever time of morning works best for you. For our focus moment today, I want you to brainstorm one way that you can add some ritual to your morning. It can be something really tiny, like opening up the curtains, lighting a candle or some incense, or playing some music that's significant to you. If you're feeling more ambitious, you might decide to implement a morning meditation, yoga flow, or walk. Remember James Clear's advice to consider what type of energy you have in the morning and what kind of tasks that energy is best suited for. You don't want to decide to implement a morning ritual if it's going to be too difficult or use up too much willpower to complete that ritual. You want to work with yourself instead of against yourself. So whatever you choose, make sure it's fairly easy for you, and don't forget to imbue this ritual with emotional significance. Completing your ritual should encourage you to feel connected, empowered, loved, inspired, free, or whatever other emotion you wish to evoke. I hope you found this helpful, and I hope you have a wonderful day. I will speak with you again tomorrow.